So just beginning to settle in for meditation, perhaps closing the eyes if that's comfortable for you, and sensing into the place where you're sitting, your seat, your cushion, your chair, bench, bed, couch, and just having a sense of being in the sitting posture. Be connecting in with that contact point where your seat is touching and also your feet or legs against the floor. So having a sense of stability. Sometimes we can even sense three-pointed stability. It's a very stable way to be sitting. And just relaxing and allowing yourself to be supported by whatever you're sitting or lying on. And bringing a sense of straightness to the spine. Perhaps trusting that the body itself can find a posture that is both upright and relaxed. One that is supported from the inside, but not tense. And as an extra support for our posture, we can gently soften areas that tend to be tense. So the face, particularly the eyes, the jaw, softening down through the throat and the shoulders. Letting the shoulder blades slide down the back so that the heart moves forward a bit in the posture. Softening the arms. And then down into the belly area. Letting the belly fall forward away from the spine. And also letting the low back muscles fall away from the spine. So we just have the support of the bones without a lot of tension around them. Down into the hips, the thighs, the calves, and into the ankles and the feet. Just inviting ease to whatever degree is possible today. And for any parts of the body that don't feel at ease or that you couldn't feel very well, we just have mental ease about that. The body is fine as it is right now. we might open to the idea of the body as a friend. And just like our friend is fine as they are when they come to our house, the body is fine right now. You can just open to it mindfully with kind attention, feeling what it has to offer us right now, various sensations. We may wish to tune into the sensations of breathing, coming in, going out, just letting the breath be as it is. Or we may sense into the energy level of the body, the subtle sensations of having a body. And just resting for a moment and allowing the simplicity of the bodily sensations to help calm the mind. Today we will focus on the experience of the body, which is different often from our idea of the body, the concepts that we bring to our body. The encouragement today will be to tune into something more simple, maybe more basic than what our mind does with the body. But I'll offer a series of 4 perceptions that we may find in our body, 4 types of sensations that relate to how it's actually sensed. So first, you may notice in your experience of the body that there are experiences of hardness or solidity, the solid parts of the body, and the structure that's holding you up. There's some hardness there. Perhaps you feel it in where you're touching against the cushion or the chair. I'm just sensing that part of the experience of the body is hardness or solidity. In the Buddhist teachings, these are related to elements. So this would be the earth element. And then the corresponding feeling of softness is also part of the earth element. There are feelings all throughout the body of this hardness or solidity. And we can tune into those. And we can understand that this kind of solidity is really the same as what we feel in external objects. So the table or the cup that we hold also feel solid in a certain way. That's the experience. And it's the same, it's the earth element. And then the second type of experience we have in the body is that of liquidity or wetness, the water element. We feel this easily in the mouth, and sometimes we can sense it in the eyes, or if there's any sweat. This is the water element of the body. It's more subtle, but still there are these easy places to detect it. And the water element is also related to the cohesion of the body in the same way that when we go to the beach, when we're just out on the sand, it's very dry. But then as we walk towards the water, there comes a place where it becomes more solid and actually easy to walk on. And that's where the sand gets wet, has enough water to hold it together. So this is happening in the body also. The water element is the cohesion of the body. You can sense into that all throughout the body. And this water element is really the same as the water in rivers and lakes, the water in our home. It's all water element. And then the third experience in the body is one of temperature, of heat and coolness. We may notice that the hands may be warm, or sometimes they're cool. Often the torso area is warm. And as we tune into the quality of temperature, we'll find it's variable throughout the body. There's the fire element. At different times, different parts are warm or cool. And we can just feel for now how it is now. This quality of temperature. And we can understand that this heat is the same as the experience of temperature we have externally, the warmth of the sun, the heat of the sun, or the coolness in the shade. It's all fire element. And then in addition to the solidity and the liquidity and the heat we feel throughout the body, there is also a sense of motion. The body is dynamic, it's not static. And so there's a sense of movement, the air element, most easily discerned in the breath, coming in, going out, causes movement all through the body. But there are other movements going on. The gut is moving while it's digesting. We may tune into that. Other energetic sensations, literal movements of the muscles. All of this is air element. So tuning into that sense throughout the body. And this is really the same as the blowing of the wind outside. The world of motion that we live in. It's all related to the air element. So as we rest in these flowing sensations, you just open your perception and let it move between solidity, liquidity, heat, and motion, feeling the body as the union and the dance and the sum of all of these. And knowing that the body is part of nature. It's one more process, like all of those we experience externally. We may sense a certain ease and lightness in perceiving the body this way. So natural, so simple, not very personal, may even bring some happiness. Can we just rest in these simple experiences of nature? So as we practice with seeing the body in terms of these four elements, which are really more the experiential aspect of the body, how it really feels, we free ourselves from various fixed ideas we might carry about our body. things that are more concepts or ideas instead of the actual experience. And this movement of moving from what is conceptual and idea-based and abstract to what is actually real in our experience is much of what we do in practice. And so we discover that we have many fixed ideas about ourselves, about the world, about other people. If we can just open to more of what the actual experience is, the sensations, the reality, we become freer. We can have a freer response to these things. So as we go out into the world, how else might we have this light feeling, freed from our usual ways of seeing things? Would there be some way, even just a little bit, to see things more as just nature? How might this more easeful way of seeing be supportive of other people? Maybe this kind of ease and flexibility and willingness to meet the experience, maybe that could open a space for more kindness, more compassion, more willingness to be a little flexible. Sometimes even relaxing and opening a bit brings a surprise that we couldn't have anticipated. But when we look back, we think, of course. So may your openness to your body, seeing it in a different way, be supportive to the people around you, be supportive to the whole world. As we go out into today or the afternoon or evening, just keeping in mind that there can be a difference between the actual experience and our ideas and concepts. I'm trying to tend toward the actuality of the moment. May this bring peace and lightness and kindness into the world. So today we come to the final talk in our series on the depth of the body. And we'll talk about how the body can play a role in insight practice. I'm amazed at how fruitful it has been and continues to be to work with the body, both on and off the cushion. Actually, troubles with my body are what got me into meditation. And even after many years, I can say that it just goes deeper and deeper. And the Buddhist teachings support this idea. It is said that practicing with the body in the right way can lead all the way to liberation from suffering. So there's quite a lot of potential there. But to do that, we do need to take a Dharma perspective in looking at the body. Despite living in our body for many years, we may actually know very little about it from a Dharma perspective, because that's not necessarily the usual way we would see it. And we could start to ask questions like, what is the body really? I mean, the sense of the body is so different at different times. Imagine how different you feel when you're hungry, when you're sick, when you're tired, when you're sleeping, when you're meditating, when you're doing a headstand. All of these are very different experiences, right? Is it even correct to say this is the body, much less my body? It seems like it's a different thing from moment to moment. So body practice is wonderful because it can be approached at any level, actually. We've explored a number of them this week. The body is immediately accessible at a top level, and there are times when it's the most obvious part of our experience. But also with certain practices that we do, often in meditation, the body can open to deeper and deeper layers. It can become very subtle, and it can eventually reveal new perspectives on experience. So through Dharma practice, we're learning to see the body in new ways. Maybe this is our greatest teacher, and it's very close at hand. You know, our greatest teacher might be right here with us. So the body that we see in the mirror, with its eyes and nose and shoulders and skin and hair and that round belly or whatever, it's just one way to perceive it. We're strongly conditioned to see our body in this very conceptual way because we've done that for so long. And that's the support that we get from other people and from society around us. But many of the classical body meditations and contemplations are designed to undermine or break down these habitual concepts that we bring into our experience of the body. You know, they're actually designed to get us to see things in a different way, not because this top-level way or conventional way is wrong, but because it's only one possibility, and we limit ourselves if we just use one. So when we do this, we do start to see the body differently. And actually, it is more accurate to begin to see the body more experientially. And that opens a path toward wise understanding. The body can be a vehicle through which we start to understand more deeply how things work. So just we can take an example of what we just did in the meditation, which is the 4 elements meditation. And if you're interested in where that's found, it's right in the key instructions that we have on mindfulness. It's in the Satipatthana Sutta, which is MN10. So this practice of the 4 elements asks us to touch into the experience of the body, which is actually a mixture of different experiences. The ones highlighted are the solidity, liquidity, heat, and motion that are found throughout the body. And these are not fundamentally different from external experiences of those 4 things, which we encounter all the time in the world around us. Here in this cup, I have some water. It has a certain temperature. It moves when I shake the glass cup. So right there, we have the 4 elements. It's kind of interesting also to consider when I take this water in, at what point does it become part of my body as opposed to outside of my body? Maybe it's already there because it's disappeared, but on the other hand, it's still kind of just in my belly. It's interesting. Where is that dividing line? We don't need to get really philosophically into this, but when we start to look just a little bit more carefully, we see immediately that there are questions about where is the division between external and internal. It can get, subtle and not as obvious as we think when we divide things up conceptually into words like internal and external. Those are nice words, but what are they, and where do they really shift from one to the other? Where are the boundaries around those? Not so clear when we look in experience. We also see that these things are shifting and changing. There's continual change about what's internal and external and breathing every moment. So we can start to see the inconstancy and impermanence and changingness of the body and experience and internal and external and all of this. So this leads to important insights, even at this very basic level of experience, into anicca, impermanence or inconstancy, and then also toward anatta, not self. I mean, really, what part of this is yours? So this is worth exploring because it's an area of a lot of suffering. So all of this is beginning to take what I'm calling a Dharma perspective on the body. So we meet the actual experience of the body rather than various concepts that we have about it. We start to ask questions around those edges just to play a little bit with what are the ways that our concepts might be restricting us. So we also have concepts like knee or back, usually when we're talking about pain. My knee hurts. So as Joseph Goldstein says, he's one of our elder insight teachers, he says there's no sensation called knee. And it's true, right? If you look into what is the knee that is hurting right now, there isn't one experience called knee. It's a concept, it's an idea of some part of the body. But when we look at the actual experience, we will see that even that pain is, it's tension, it's heat, it's pulling, it's sharpness. There are words that are much more specific than pain, which is a concept. So we can start to meet our experience more at that level, grounding ourselves in actual sensations, and we'll find that our experience of that pain differs. Then our response to it and our possibilities of how we can be with it also open up when our mental image of it opens up a bit. So what we're learning is some flexibility around experience, and this has a lot to do with freedom, with having a freer response than when we can only be locked into one way of seeing things. So as we then going on, as we experience the body as ever changing from moment to moment, it's very natural to begin to understand that the body is not going to last forever in this form. It's quite finite. Certainly it's undergone a lot of change to get to the point where you are now. Isn't your body very different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if you're old enough, 50 years ago, 60? Yeah, of course, very different, and it will continue to be different. That's called aging. And of course, it's finite. Eventually, something will end there. Yes, so it's interesting and important to begin contemplating in these directions. We do it gently. Everybody's in a different place around how they want to approach the finiteness of the body. But one of the easiest ways that we can start turning our mind in this direction is simply to notice endings of all types. So we can, actually everything ends. Our normal way of perceiving not our Dharma way of perceiving, is that we like beginnings. And so we rush on to the next thing that's beginning. We prefer what is new and young to what is old and decaying. And so we start to notice things that are decaying or ending in very simple ways. We can do it externally, internal, external, So we can notice leaves dropping from the trees, for example. Fall is beginning, isn't it? So flowers wilt. We can also notice the gatherings of friends come to an end. So, pause to recognize endings. Just begin to flavor the mind with this notion that there are beginnings and there are endings. And it's beginning to take a very simple Dharma perspective on life, realistic, seeing the reality of how things actually are, coming and going. There are times when it will be challenging to stay with reflections like this. And if that's the case, you don't have to. But it's fine to maybe touch into this from time to time, to consider that the body is going toward a certain end at some point. And we may need patience to really take in the reality of the body, its ever-changingness and its finitude, and of course its impersonality in the end. These can be a little bit challenging to see into. Sometimes we can have the sense, whoa, is this what I signed up for? Yes, it is, that we have this body. So truly, the body is our friend. It's always in the present moment. It's always honest. The mind can be very tricky, but the body is pretty honest. And it gently but persistently serves as a very deep Dharma teacher. Our closest teacher is very close at hand. And who could ask for a better friend? So just as we talked about in the first talk this week, Venerable Ananda, the attendant of the Buddha, said, "There's no friend like mindfulness of the body." So I hope that you maybe have gained some deeper appreciation of the depth of the body and its potential, its power in our Dharma practice. If we want to learn about how things work and gain the kind of wisdom that will help us live well in the world and really serve the world well. The body is a great vehicle, a great teacher for that. So perhaps you will honor your body in some way today. What a gift it is that we have this teacher for the short time that we do. So much appreciation for your presence in your Dharma practice. And I wish you all very well. Thank you.